Mm-hmm. Okay. I share the link. I gotta talk to myself until people get here. Ooh. Yeah, fix my light because that is way too close. I was not really paying attention when I turned it on. Wow, my hair is still wet. Good morning, Dale. How are you? Hello, how are you? All right. My hair's still wet. So clearly I'm running on time. Okay. There we go. I have a potty training 4-year-old on my lap. Oh yeah. I remember those days. Those were not the most fun of days. No, don't jump on me. Nope. I'm sorry. I need to have a cat-free lap for a minute and a half, okay? Good morning, Kimmy. No. Don't look at me like that. My cats have not left me alone. Stephen came and picked up the kids yesterday afternoon at about, he was here around noonish-ish. And the cats have just not left me alone since. I mean, they usually come out a little bit more when the kids aren't here. But this has been like magnets. I want to thank you. Your tutorials are helping me a lot to write my book. Yay! Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I love it. You just can't forget to tell me when your book is out so I can go check it out, okay? But I'm so glad that I get to help. I gotta share the link because I almost forgot. And this one, Brizzo, he keeps turning on my, she keeps turning on my mug warmer. And I'll catch her, and she's trying to like do this weird balance thing on my desk. And then I'll have to pick her up, and she's sitting on the mug warmer, just heating her butt. Oh, well, good. Haven't written in a week, but I made 2 pumpkin cheesecakes last night. Ooh, that might be worth it. I almost put TikTok. Good. Okay. No. I will join later. I'm working on a school project right now. All right. Well, thank you so much for popping in and letting me know that you're working on a book. That's awesome. I'm so glad. Hello, Alex. And I'm especially glad and a little bit proud that I get to help. Yay. Good morning, Kathy. I'm getting a computer tomorrow. Yay. Brother got me one to help him with thumbnails for YouTube. Nice. Hello, Laura. I am hanging. Oh, my fitness account, BRB. Okay. Good morning, Sabrina. Super simple, so I can do book stuff too. Nice. You're on the wrong account too. Welcome back, Kathy. Writing in Barnes & Noble today. Nice. Welcome back, Laura. Good morning, Jessica. So have you seen that authors are deleting their nano accounts because of something that happened on the youth forums? Not that I blame them. Yeah. Excuse me. I did see I didn't see the actual incidents of what was happening. I saw everyone talking about it after the fact. I don't know if now's the time to delete their accounts. That part doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know. It's definitely unfortunate. I have mixed feelings. I always start off like that, don't I? I always say, like, I have mixed feelings. Okay, so on the one hand, horrible things that were going on in the forums. Wretched. And there's no excuse. None. It's horrible. On the other hand, who was it that stepped in? The CEO? Hang on. Because I want to make sure that I'm quoting it correctly. The board of directors. So I was watching this one person's video who was talking about, like, she was upset about what had been happening in the forums. Totally get it. She chose to leave after the board of directors went, whoa, WTF, and stepped in. And then she was like, that's not the company that I thought I was supporting. Like, I understand that stance before the board of directors went, whoa, WTF, and stepped in. But they found out and they stepped in. And that's what we want, right? That's what we should be supporting. So I'm kind of like, I don't know if, like, I'm missing some information or what's happening, but it seems like the story got out, the board stepped in and started taking measures, and then everyone went, oh, well, I don't want anything to do with this company. And it's like, well, wait a minute. And as far as I've seen, they have not sent out, like, any fake apologies. They haven't been like, oh, well, you know, corporate BS. They stepped in, they shut down forums, they got rid of the offenders. Like, that's what we want a company to do. So I'm kind of confused about some of the timing. Ahmad was supposedly grooming some of the teenagers. Yeah. Allegedly. Allegedly. There was a mod doing some really bad things in the youth forums. Finally able to get the board of directors involved after 6 months of covering. Yeah, so I don't think I know all the details, or definitely not enough of the details. I want to see what they do. Yeah. Yeah, that's the impression that I got too, Dale. It looked like it was other mods covering it up, not the board. I could be wrong. I'm probably missing information. I don't know. But that was the interpretation that I got, is that other mods were covering it up. And because the other mods were covering it up, nothing was being done until finally they went to the board. And then when they went to the board went WTF and stepped in. So, yes, things definitely should have happened faster. But the company hand itself seems to be doing everything I would want them to do. Right, the mods were that's what I said. The mods were covering it up. The teens had to go to the board. But they went to the board and the board stepped in. It's like, that's the way that I interpreted it. Yeah, I am glad that the teens, they should not have had to do that. But I am glad that they had the wherewithal to go set up a site where they weren't going to be silenced and start like setting up an actual safe space and sharing those stories so that they could go to the board. Hello, Franco. Yes, advocating for themselves. I'm super proud of that. Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Let's not forget, a lot of the teens right now are Gen Alpha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gen Alpha is what, 2009 or 2010? So they're hitting 13 and 14. So glad our group is a safe space. Yes. And Alex works very hard to keep it that way. I love watching Gen Z and Gen Alpha come up. I love it. They are going to change the world. Wanted more info before either did anything with my account. Yeah, I haven't logged in. I don't think I'm going to delete my account. But I am waiting to see what happens. I don't think I'm going to delete my account, though. I don't, like, as far as I can tell and the information that I have, the board did exactly what I would have wanted them to do. They found out, they stepped in. That's, regardless of the other circumstances, if this is something that happened, the board stepped in. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what I would want them to do. Now, there is a bunch of other stuff I don't know. There's a bunch of other crap going on that I don't know enough about. I am hoping that this means that whatever the board implements going forward, that this means this actually will be a super safe space. And how it got to that point is beyond me. Like, I don't understand, because it's not like the mods are paid or anything like that. So I don't know what criteria went into it. I don't know how they got in there. I don't know enough about the process of how they hired their mods in the first place. I know what they go through to hire the MLs, though, because I was an ML for 4 years. So I know that process. And it wasn't like the most rigorous, it's not like they're running background checks on the MLs. So I don't know if that translates over to the mods or not. But it also wasn't like a super easy application either. So it'll be interesting to see. It's one of those deals where, like, when there's an accident at a theme park, and then the next year the ride that had the accident ended up being the safest ride because they fixed it. Excuse me. So I'm hoping that that's what comes of it. Yeah, the person was one of the website developers when they switched out the new website to the new website. So he wasn't even picked for a mod at first, necessarily. I don't know. It's all weird. Virtual soups and hot teas. Why, thank you. It definitely hits more the more I talk, which is really bad when I want to go live and answer questions. Selling in bulk. So I don't actually have a whole lot of experience with bulk sales. I've had a couple of clients who've had some really good luck, strategy with military bases. Especially if you talk to like company commanders, writing right now, awesome. Especially if you talk to like base commanders, military commanders. If you get involved in like any family readiness groups, the FRGs on certain bases, especially overseas, the US bases that are overseas, the ones that are like in Germany and whatnot, where families are being deployed to, they are there, like part of their job. They have a huge budget for setting up things like library, education, self-help, all kinds of things like that. So a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, depending on your book, you can call up the company commander who will then tell you like, oh yeah, this person is in charge of it, blah, blah, blah. Or you can get a hold of an FRG, especially if you get a hold of the leader of the FRG, and they'll tell you like, oh yeah, this is the person who curates all these books and blah blah blah. And they do bulk sales. Like when they go to buy books for their base, they will buy like 6,000 copies. Excuse me. I did it once by accident. It wasn't even a strategy that I had ever done or necessarily heard of before until my book on the military, the emotional deployment, what the heck did I call that book? The Emotional Cycle of Deployment and the Paradigm on U.S. Military Families, or whatever it was. It's my master's thesis that got published into a book that then a bunch of bases overseas bought. But I had no idea that that's what was happening at the time. Can non-military people do that? Absolutely. Which is usually the commanding officer's wife. Sometimes. A lot of times, it depends on if they're just going by rank, or like when I was FRG leader, I was definitely not the commanding officer's wife, but I was the girlfriend of one of the other people. It's usually someone involved in the military family, though. Complain that we can't get American items overseas. Yeah. What branch? Army. My first husband was Army, but I was FRG leader before we got married. Excuse me. The FRG is a great group. It is such a great group. And we used to do Thanksgiving at my house for all the single soldiers, because that was a very young group that he was in. And most of them couldn't get back to their families. So that was back in the day when I used to make Thanksgiving for like 40 people. Anyway, did I watch Army Wives? No. Anyway, if you can get a hold of someone on military bases, even stateside, they don't have to necessarily be international. Even stateside, they're always trying to bring in something. They don't necessarily want their military members to have to leave base. I mean, it's not like, some of them can't anyway. But a lot of times they don't want their people to have to leave the base to go get anything. So they want their people to be able to head over into the commissary or to go over to, I can't remember that now. APHIS? No. Yeah, APHIS. To be able to pick up whatever they want. And they have bookstores and stuff there. And they are owned by civilians. And you just have to pretty much like sell them your book. Like literally explain to them why your book should be on the shelf, just as you would any other bookstore. Air Force was next door. I was in El Paso, so we had a little bit of everything. The exact group that I was part of was Army, but we had a little bit of everything. There's everything in El Paso. Bliss, yep. Holidays hit hard when your battle buddy can't go home or have family. Christmas party pigs. Fort Hood's on the other side of Texas. Try to contact FRG leader to see about getting the book added to their bookstores. Well, you can try to contact the FRG leader or a base commander or whoever's in charge of the commissary. But a lot of times the FRG leader can tell you who to contact. They're just, the FRG leader is usually someone involved, and there's more than one, but there's someone involved at a troop level, and they are there. Like, the FRG leader is the person who organizes a lot of events. They hold like fundraisers. We used to have meetings with like craft fairs and stuff. Like, anytime soldiers were deployed somewhere, it's a family readiness group. It's like, it's the whole point is to build up a community amongst the families who are there to support each other while their service members may not be home. And so a lot of times, because the FRG leaders have to know where everything is and have to know like where all the different events are in all the different areas, so that they, they're welcoming new families into the troops and all of that. A lot of times they know who to talk to, or they know where something is. So they're a good first point of contact because they're civilian. They're usually a good first point of contact to say, hi, I'm trying to find out who's in charge of XYZ bookstore. And a lot of times they, even if they don't know the person itself, they know who to ask. Yeah. Smith quit buying books. Other places where you can do book sales, book clubs sometimes. Depends on the book club. But there are some book clubs where they provide the books to their members, like Book of the Month, for example, or those book subscription sites, clubs, whatchamacallit, memberships, where they send out, like, every month they have a different book with, like, a couple of different other things in it or whatever. A lot of times they will buy. The only thing is, with book sales, you got to remember you're not, it's different. So like the retail price, most of the time they're not paying the retail price. And a lot of times with bulk sales, they're not going to like buy in bulk from Amazon. They're going to buy in bulk from you or wherever your warehouse is. So sometimes for indie authors, bulk sales can be a little bit difficult because you have to have the books in inventory in order to sell them in bulk. By the time my husband got back from Iraq, the second time he bought filled a Foot Locker. She made us bake cookies and then had our men buy them back in the field. That sounds awful. It is what a lot of the FRG does, is putting together care packages. Service members get deployed, go overseas, and the FRG is there to send things, letters, foods, memorabilia, blankets, cards. Participation in the FRG is not a not a requirement. No. We had a good one. I think we had a good one. We had a really high participation, but part of the reason we had really high participation is we didn't have a high rate of deployment. We were the band, so we didn't get deployed, but we were there for every single deployment and every single return home to Fort Bliss. Welcome back. How is your day so far? Another time a CEO was cyberbullying a friend of ours. A woman got mad at me for telling him to stop. I told him put his big girl panties on if he was going to be on social media. Crown Royal is doing care packages right now. So far, so good. Yay! "13 years. They use their purple bags for items, and it confuses us when we get it, especially that one SGT who drinks." No. Really? It's Floof. Little Floof. Ow, 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 ow. I don't need claws. Soft Floof. Do I know anything about Draft to Digital? I know that they've recently moved to print. Have I tried them? No. I have had a lot of clients who really like them. I have heard a lot of great things about them. I've never personally tried them. Ow! No claws. Can you make a tutorial on how to make book covers for KDP? I can try. I can give you some of the basics. I'm not a book cover designer. Like, I can do nonfiction. I'm pretty comfortable working in nonfiction book covers. Oh my God, Kat. Could you put your butt down? And I can give you things like dimensions and stuff, but I'm not a cover designer. I'm not a graphic designer. And in an ideal world, I believe in hiring an artist for that. I believe in hiring an actual cover designer. Outside of the ideal world, if you don't have budget or things along those lines, then I recommend getting like a pre-made cover. You can find some pretty decent ones on Etsy. You can also, there are courses in things like Procreate and some other digital drawing apps and things like that where you can learn how to create covers and stuff. The biggest thing you want to make sure of is make sure of the stock. Oh my God, Kat. Listen, I love you. You've got to stop, okay? Hi, I love you. Licensing wise, you have to make sure that you cover yourself for any stock images. And when you hire an artist, they typically send you the license so that you understand the licensing for anything that they have used to create your book cover. Yes, honey, I don't understand. I love you. You're ripping my sweater and I don't like it. Okay. Just let go. Seriously. God, every time. Draft to digital. What else was I saying? Oh yeah, stock images. No. I'm done with cats and claws right now. Go lay down somewhere else. I have all these little threads being pulled out of like every single sweater I own because you two can't like keep them in. Excuse me. Anyway, licensing of the stock images, because you want to make sure that the license covers not just commercial use, but resell, because that's the big thing. And that's where something like Canva gets a little bit weird, depending on what it is that you're using in there, which elements you're using and stuff like that. Because most of their images have commercial use, but not necessarily resell use. Cats and claws. And I go to pick them up and they're just like seriously. All I heard was stock images. No. Sorry. So when it comes to when you're first starting your book cover design, I like to start the research over at Amazon. Do a search for your genre and just like make it as small as you can. Have a notebook and start scrolling. You're not looking at titles specifically. You're looking at, hopefully that genre, and you're looking at the book covers themselves. But I like to start by just scrolling and see what pops out. Like, because as you're scrolling, you're going to see them all blending together, hopefully. So you can see, like, what do they all look like? What do they all have in common? Because that's going to help you figure out what the expectations are and what readers are kind of expecting out of that genre. So that's a good way to start that. Then you take another look and you go, okay, but how do I make sure that what I want belongs on this bookshelf, but can stand out? If I use Canva, I have to check if you use Canva, you have to check. You want to double check the license of the stock. It's mostly the stock images. Some of the graphic elements, depending on what it is, have other licensing restrictions on them. But most of those say that if you do heavy editing, you can use them in resale, meaning you can have them available as a book cover and that product gets resold over and over again. The stock images, not always. And the extended license on the stock images that you get from Canva is kind of expensive. It's like $300 or $400. So it's like if you're going to spend $300 or $400, you might as well go to some place like Creative Fabrica or Deposit Photos, which are my two favorites for stock photos, and just get a membership there. Cover tropes. They do have a policy you can look up. Yep. If you use your own pictures, you're good. If you create your own font, you're good. All of that stuff, if you know how to create all that, you don't have to worry about anything. Had an idea for my book cover, but the book cover artist said it was more horror than YA adventure. Well, double check. That might be the case depending on what it is, but there also might be ways to tweak it. But yeah, that's why you want to start with seeing what's on the bookshelf. So in your case, look up YA adventure and start scrolling and just look and see what elements are there that your audience is probably expecting to be a part of that. And then how can you stand out? So one of my favorite examples is like horror. It's my favorite example because it's the easiest one to describe. However, it's the hardest word to actually say. So I'm going to say scary so that YouTube doesn't think I'm like calling anyone any kind of names. But anyway, the scary books. If you look and you scroll through Amazon or even just any other bookstore or even just go into Barnes & Noble, look at the scary book section and just scan. You're going to see a lot of grays. You're going to see probably a lot of like old-timey houses, or a lot of times it will be like a very small house and it's like set against like a great big gray field. It's very dark overall. Every once in a while you'll see some kind of lightning or something, and then there's usually some kind of a pop of color. A lot of times that pop of color is red. It might be like dripping, maybe something dripping off of a knife or something like that. But point is, for that genre, a lot of dark covers, it's kind of expected. When people see a dark cover, they expect a scary story. However, how can you make it set aside? You can do a lot of grays with like purple hues or even like a navy blue hue. So you still get the dark gray that is expected, but there's a little bit of a different pop to it that helps it stand out on the shelf. So it looks like it belongs on that shelf, which is the hardest thing to do, is does it look like it belongs on the same shelf? Yes, great. Now how do you draw an eye to it? Sometimes that might mean instead of using red, you use yellow or something along those lines. Instead of having a red drop of blood off of a knife, it might be a doorway with a bright yellow light or something along those lines that's just slightly different. Not different enough that it knocks it off the shelf, but different enough that it'll draw someone's attention. Can I use the text fonts provided by Canva? Yes, most of the time, yes, you can. I think with almost all of Canva's free fonts, you can. And if you have a paid account, then any of the fonts that would come with the account. The issue I run into is figuring out what genre my writing is. Beta readers can help with that. You don't have a paid one. Then stick with the free fonts. I would not bother. If you use a free Canva account, I would not bother trying to like pay the $1 for the upgrade to the font or whatever it is, because it's never just the $1. That's for like a one-time use. And you're not trying to use anything for one-time use. But if you use the free one, as long as you stick to those fonts, you should be fine. Figured out mine could be considered new adult instead of young adult, as the main character turns 18 within a few chapters. Yeah, that's new adult. Thoughts on rapid release for new authors? Rapid release for new authors is a little bit difficult, mostly because rapid release does better when you already have a pretty well-established platform. Now, if you've been marketing, excuse me. Okay. If you've been marketing and building up your platform, then even as a new author, you could be fine. But the whole point of a rapid release is to like knock out those books so that your audience grabs them quickly. Otherwise, there's no point necessarily in going through a rapid release, except that you want your readers to grab and read them quickly, one after the other, after the other, after the other. So it kind of becomes almost like a special event for them. If you don't have the readers, you don't put yourself through the stress. Just do regular releases. Anyway, someday I will get rid of this cough. Anyway, it can still be your first book or your first series. You're just going to want to spend some extra time marketing and building your author platform ahead of time so that by the time book one comes out, your readers are ready for it. They can't wait for it. And you're going to want to then, especially if you're new, you're going to want to talk to them about the rapid release schedule so that they know what's coming out when, so they'll be ready for it. That will take forever for this series. Yes. Yes, it will, Alex. Forever. I hate coughs. I hate coughs so much. I hate that they're always the last thing to heal. Time to get started on this homeschool stuff. See you later. All right. Writing books definitely takes a hell of a lot of time. Totally worth it. You're right. Never have to write another book in 5 years. I'd like to get these books done before I'm 50. Yes. Franco, you're well on your way. All right. I have to start sucking down some cough drops. I'm sorry, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning and asking your questions. Gives you 6 years. Y'all, I hope you have an amazing day. Go get all the words written, and I will talk to you tomorrow, okay?